Is political revolution coming to Britain? I think he's talking about the September 13, which usually are the day of a big protest in UK. So let's watch
Well, this
it.
isn't exactly the kind of video I thought I'd be making on a Sunday morning, and just for the purposes of any police officers or MI5 agents who are watching this video, I do not support any kind of coup action in the UK. So why then am I talking about it? Well, I'm talking about it because of a post made by Ant Middleton, a former Special Forces soldier and all-round celebrity. And here's what Ant had to say. On the
Yeah,
13th
he's
of
pretty
September,
famous.
I will ask for something of the British public, British patriots, that I would never ask of if I weren't willing to lead the charge. If certain individuals can ask for our throats to be with zero accountability or repercussion, then that allows us free rein to defend ourselves in such a manner that will rattle foreign hostiles and our government to the very core. Choose a side, because this is ultimately what it has come down to. See you on the 13th of September and prepare your shields.
It's a pretty rough statement again.
Wow, that is quite the post, and we're going to dig into all of it, but right from the outset you can tell that there are people now working in the Metropolitan Police looking at that and thinking, oh God. Okay, let's dig into this. Ant talks about September the 13th. Now, why does he pick that day? Well, many of you will know that Tommy Robinson has organised a...
I mean, everything has the temperature of boiling, so that also applies to the humans. The UK biggest free speech festival, 13th September, London.
protest on the 13th of September in central London. And these protests are by far the biggest that we see in the country. Usually around 250,000 people go to them, but given the current mood, I wouldn't be surprised to see that at 500,000. And guess who's been asked to speak? Yeah.
I mean, unless there's gonna be a rainy day, there's gonna be less, and they're gonna be really peaceful because people are sleepy, they wanna drink some cup of tea, But if it's gonna be sunny day, with those type of statements, we'll see what's gonna happen.
Taking to the stage on that day in front of potentially 500,000 people. In fact, let me just find some footage from one of the past protests so you can see how big these really are. Look, I've been to a few of Tommy Robinson's protests in the past, and it is by far the largest single gathering of patriotic British people that you will find in one spot. And that one spot, by the way, is usually Parliament Square, right next to the Houses of Parliament. So I'm not
that's
saying
where it's supposed
for
to be.
certain that Ant Middleton is trying to launch a political revolution on the 13th of September. But what I can say for sure is that if you wanted to do so, then that is exactly the right time and place to do it. You've got all of the right people in exactly the right place. I will be there on the 13th of September, and I should stress that I'm not there to launch a political revolution or anything like that. I'm just going to get involved.
I mean, he's part of the
Hopefully
media.
I can meet some of you there. That'd be fantastic. But yeah, please do come along. Maybe we'll be witnessing history. Maybe we'll just have a good time. Who knows? Now, I planned in this video to talk all about how Tommy Robinson probably wouldn't allow some kind of revolution to start at one of his rallies. And the reason is relatively simple. I've been to a bunch of them in the past, and they are run like clockwork. Everything is peaceful. Everything is coordinated with the police. There's usually very few or
I mean,
even
he
no
runs it
arrests.
like it's
All of
military,
the litter is
so
collected at the end
obviously
and disposed
it's
of.
gonna be stable.
In fact, I would go as far as to say that your average migrant hotel protest with 2,000
But
people in
again,
attendance
everything has its own limits. Like every human has the limits of
is more likely to
day-to-day
turn sour
struggle,
than a Tommy Robinson organised protest with
of anger.
200,000 people in attendance. That's the difference.
And when you
But
have
then I
hundreds
saw a
of
tweet this
thousands
morning
of
that Tommy had
people,
put out. There needs to be a
they had it
revolution.
enough.
It's as simple as that.
No.
Oh, Tommy.
There can be
Now, let
a
me just be clear.
revolution.
In a few recent podcasts, Tommy has spoken about the need for
Look at the
some
dog,
kind
how
of
cute it
revolution.
is.
But he's always maintained that he means a peaceful political revolution, not a violent revolution. Right?
I mean, yeah, a revolution is usually, as history shows, has some little bit of violence there. But we'll see what's gonna be happening on September 13th.
Détat, as it were. So is that what Ant Middleton is getting at? Is he saying, I'm joining the Advance Party, or I'm starting my own political party? After all, he does say, now is the time to choose a side, right? So maybe that's what he's getting at. But let me just remind you of some of the other language he used, and you can decide for yourself whether that sounds like joining a political party. If certain individuals can ask for our throats to be with zero accountability or
I
repercussions,
mean, starting your
that
own party is usually a really long road. Like,
allows us free reign to
it's gonna
defend
take
ourselves
really big
in such a
time to
manner
make
that
some
will rattle
changes.
foreign hostiles and our government to the very core. Choose a side, because this is ultimately what it has come down to, and prepare your shield.
I mean, yeah, he
Let's
sounds
go.
like a military officer.
Okay, that's fighting talk. That doesn't sound like
so-
join my political party. When he's talking about, we have free reign to defend ourselves however we see fit, that's not political speech as I would traditionally imagine it. So sure, maybe that is one option.
Yeah, it's more military.
And that's definitely like the most politically acceptable option that Ant could be referring to, but it just doesn't quite match up with the language, does it? Let's be honest. Another fairly innocent
not fully
explanation that I
politically
just
correct.
thought of is maybe he's referring to some kind of extreme neighborhood watch, right? And we've actually seen this start taking place in certain areas in the country, especially in Northern Ireland. I was watching Freedom Dad the other day, and he was following some Northern Irish guys around at like midnight, and they were basically patrolling the streets, ostensibly to keep women.
I mean, that's also what Muslims do. They have like their own patrols,
Children
like Sharia patrol,
safe.
whatever they call it.
So that's really interesting. And sure, I guess that
Especially
kind
in
of fits with
Europe.
the language. So that's one
Spain.
possibility. Or, and let's just be honest here, this is what we're all thinking, maybe he's talking about storming the Houses of Parliament. I mean, after all, you've got hundreds of
I don't
thousands of
think
angry,
it's-
patriotic Brits stood right in front of you. You're on stage, you've got a microphone, you can all see the Houses of Parliament. They're right there, right next to you. You're in Parliament Square. And if he says, right lads, follow me, we're going in that direction, and thousands of people start following Ant, then yeah,
I mean,
sure.
look, he's a military officer. He definitely knows people. He got some connections in intelligence. We'll see.
You could just walk into the Houses of Parliament. The police aren't.
If he got the
what can they do?
support
They're going to be
from
massively
intelligence.
outnumbered. Are they just going to start sporadically firing into crowds of thousands of people? I don't think so, because that's kind of like, well, then you just get like an English Bloody Sunday. I don't think they would do that, and I don't think the order would be given for them to do that. And even if it was, I don't think they would follow that order. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you could just walk en masse straight into the Houses of Parliament, and very little would be done about it.
I mean,
But
yeah, when
then
you
you've
got
got
the
a whole
numbers.
other question, right? What do you do once you're in there? Is the plan to have some kind of sit-down protest? Well, sure, okay, but then eventually you are all just going to get rounded up and arrested. The police will just pick you off one at a time. Or are you actually trying to like take control of the country? Are you going to try and depose the king? Are you going to try and seize control of the army? Because whoever controls the army realistically
king's
controls the country. And in all fairness, if anyone's going to have any chance of seizing control of the army, it probably is a former special forces guy, right? Because of what he's done, he can command the respect of the average everyday soldier. Now look, all of these ideas, even me hearing myself speak
I
them out
mean,
loud.
I think in this case is the most important thing that he got the connections in intelligence, in the military, meaning he can influence them on what type of changes the government should be doing, the politicians should be doing, and the whole country, right?
Are
What type of
completely
direction?
insane.
So
Batshit
that
crazy,
is the
right?
most important.
You know that, and I know that. And yet you're still here listening to me, and you're probably thinking, yeah, that's plausible. That's how bad Britain has become. That we are now in the situation where we're talking about like a coup d'etat, the kind of thing you only see
Like during the 1991, when the Soviet Union fell, KGB still had the full control of the country, but they decided not to interfere. And they fully knew about the revolution, right? The fall of the Soviet Union, but they decided not to interfere. Politicians were clueless, right? To the last moment.
South American failed state.
So it's
But we're
always
talking about it in Britain.
the
And we're
decision
not
of
going, "Yeah,
intelligence.
That's ridiculous." Maybe some of you are. Maybe some of you are already switched off, and you're like, "Yeah, this guy's an idiot." Totally fine.
That controls the
But for those who are
police,
still listening, like,
military.
yeah, that could actually happen. I could see that taking place. I could see people going along with that.
And
That's a really
if he can influence them, they can make a change
That's
for
on,
sure.
because that means that Britain has fallen all the way down to those South American countries that have had exactly this happen
To a different direction.
Scary, scary thought. Look, I'm sure that Ant Middleton isn't planning anything that extreme. But
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be some
that
violence.
it's actually technically plausible and possible.
Unless some police officers gonna start making some mistakes, but I think they trained and they know the consequences of using, for example, little or even batons. You know, that's how it starts.
Is really, really telling. Here's a bit of interesting British history for you. It wouldn't be the first time that a member of the British Special Forces has planned to overthrow the government.
I think the founder of Special...
David Stirling, the founder of the SAS and frankly all modern Special
That's a pretty
Forces,
famous one.
planned to do exactly this. Now, David Stirling didn't get very far in his plans or his attempts, but the mood of the country is very, very different.
Yeah, it's very different. Like, it's a completely different country compared to those times.
And right now there is a campaign to raise
completely
the colours,
different problems.
which is basically putting the English flag everywhere, even in places like Tower Hamlets where there are basically no English people left. Take a look at this.
I mean, it's better than the colorful flag that they forced them to put there, right?
Look, the mood in Britain is absolutely febrile, especially.
I think if I'm gonna say which one the YouTube gonna ban me.
English people, and we're just sick of our government. And I'm not talking about one specific government. I'm not talking about Keir Starmer's Labour government. I'm talking about successive governments since at least 1997 when Tony Blair took power, but you could argue even further back than that. We've had all of this anti-democratic stuff just rammed onto us. I'm talking about mass migration, which people have consistently voted against. But it was forced onto us, right?
And it was uncontrolled. Again, the most important thing is uncontrolled because, for example, states, US had a big mass migration through the years, right? In probably recent years was through the roof, but it was controlled. In the last years questionable, but for example, ICE has a full control right now. They just throwing anybody who's not fit, let's just say like that.
ECHR.
So at the end of the day, everything is just controlled. In states, when it comes to the immigrants, everything is controlled. But yeah, in UK, it's just uncontrollable.
A court which can effectively overrule what Parliament decides. That's crazy. Why are we doing this? We've basically created these quangos, these quasi-autonomous non-government organisations that can limit what Parliament does. That's crazy. That's why the Rwanda scheme, for example, which I don't think was a good scheme, but that's why the Rwanda scheme could never get off the ground because of all of these other organisations that were getting involved. Madness, absolute madness. We've stripped our own democracy away from us. Bonkers. So I don't think these political elites really understand the level of anger that exists in this country. And for those people, the Jacob Rees-Moggs of the world, okay,
they can be delusional, by the way, that's for sure.
Go and read some of the replies.
Same happened in the Soviet Union.
I'm not going to go through all of them, but the gist of it for a lot of people is this. I'll be there, I'll help you out, let's do this. And that's how people feel in this country, right? Regardless of what Ant's original intention was with that post, and I really don't know, a lot of people are interpreting it as him saying, right, we're going to do a coup. And not only are they interpreting him saying it as that, they're then replying and going, yeah, sure, I volunteer, let's get this done. That's crazy. The fact that that is the mood of a lot of people in this country is crazy.
I mean, yeah, everything has its own limits.
I am genuinely, more than most videos,
that includes
really
people's
curious
feelings.
to hear what you guys think. Maybe you think I'm making a big deal out of absolutely nothing, it's just one post. Fine, you could be absolutely correct. Let me know that in the comments, change my mind. Sure, maybe you think that I'm right, maybe you just don't have a clue what's going on. Maybe you just want to say, hey, I'll see you there on September 13th. Sorry, the dog just found a tennis ball, which is great fun. She's very happy. This is like the third tennis ball we found in these fields in the last couple of days. So someone keeps losing them and Annie keeps finding them. She's very, very happy. And she loves playing fetch. Sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked. Look, if you haven't, please do leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I hopefully will see you in a future video. If you promise to subscribe, I'll show you Annie catching the ball, maybe. Okay? Yeah? All right, latest.
Yeah, we'll see what's Oh
Wait.
shit, the ball.
Wait. Wait. Good.
That's a
girl.
good dog.
Good.
Again, we'll see what's gonna be happening on September 13. Until then, take care.